Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to the second hour of the Wellness Show with Angela and Safiya. So remember, everything that we say in this show, it's for advice to inspire you, but if you want to implement any change, especially if you have a particular condition you know of, please consult your healthcare professional before doing anything, just to be safe, right? Obviously, Ramadan is the same. If you're fasting and you have a particular condition, you do know that for some conditions you cannot fast, absolutely cannot fast, because you need to take medicine, or you know it would really cause you difficulty for your health and make you worse. So that's out of the way. This little disclaimer out of the way. So we have promised that we would be talking about our own fasting journey. So
sure
Angela, why don't you start?
That? Well, when I was 18, when I first became Muslim,
MashaAllah, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, and it was still Ramadan back then was like March, January. I can't remember. It must have been March, my first Ramadan. Honestly, it was the first year I had just become Muslim, so I just barely got my feet wet with being Muslim, and then I was told I had to fast. I didn't understand the whole process. It was hard for me because I was mostly doing it. I felt like at the first year was a bit under duress, but then of course I understood what it was for, and afterwards I did it wholeheartedly. I didn't think it was possible not to eat and drink for a whole month, even if you could break your fast. But once I've had a taste of it, then I understood how it worked. It was hard, but the weather was in cooperation, but it wasn't so hot.
How long was it? Because you were in Canada, weren't you? So
it was short. I can't remember the timings, but if it's in March or just after,
days were quite short.
Yeah, still. So they were short. It was a good training. I was just in awe, like, how do people not eat for the whole day? And that time, the first year, I wasn't in charge of cooking for anyone. I was just a visitor in someone's home. So my sister-in-law at the time, she's the one who was doing all the cooking, and she made it look effortless. Effortless. Yeah, how about you? What was your first time?
What happened?
I was still a kid. I was barely like, a grown-up. But you were more mature.
I was, about 10 years older than you. I was 27, and I discovered Islam, which we might come in, talk about in details another time. But it was, when was it? I discovered Islam, and I was convinced I was going to become a Muslim soon. But it hadn't happened yet, because I was living in London. I didn't know any Muslim. I didn't really know how to get about those things. But I'd heard on the radio that Ramadan was starting. So, they often announce, this is for Ramadan will start for Muslims. And funnily enough, actually, I realized afterwards I'd started 3 days too early. I'd heard.
Didn't you know real life Muslims at the time? I
did not know any Muslim at the time. So imagine, how is that possible? In those times, 1997, remember, there was no mobile phones, or hardly there were, but I mean, it was very uncommon.
It was the brick
Internet
style.
Was like in its infancy. There was no website with things, explaining to you. I found out later that my husband, obviously it wasn't my husband then, had already done his own Dawah website, but you couldn't really just search for it was different times.
That was such a great times though.
You had to go through yellow pages to find your local mosque and things like that. So I decided to fast, and I had a Quran, so I knew from reading the Quran that you stopped before daybreak, and you stopped eating, and then you started eating again when the sun had gone past your horizon.
So you're basically doing your own calculations.
Yeah. So I think probably because it was winter. I think it was around 6 a.m. I was stopping eating, and then breaking fast at about 4. 10 to 4, something like that. So, but I was working in an office, so I had to be quite clever about it. I didn't want anyone to know. So originally what I thought I was going to do, because like you, I started thinking, okay, fasting's all right, I guess. I like eating. And I get hungry if I don't eat, because I was eating the wrong. I can't say the wrong type of things, but I was eating
there's
too
some
much
things that affect your hormones that make you hungry, and then when you know what happens when you're hungry.
Yeah, I was really like hypoglycemic.
It happens to everybody. It's normal.
By 11 o'clock,
function.
I'd have to have a pick me up, and obviously it would be the wrong pick me up because it would feed into that hypoglycemia cycle.
Yeah.
So I was a bit worried. So originally I thought, what I'll do is I'll just have soups during the day, like liquids. So I changed something, kind of the Christian approach of things, like I remove things that I like and I just replace it with something that's a bit simpler, different. So I was like, I'm going to have liquids, soups and shakes and things. And also, just before that, I found out that you could not drink. And that gave me such a shock.
I know, that is the part of fasting.
I was like, what?
That's different.
I thought
food and water.
Yeah. How'd you do it? How does your body survive? Because we're in such a society of abundance.
Yeah.
We never really, and actually as an aside, my brother talking about this, we never really reached a point of hunger in our societies.
Never.
We can. Some people obviously find themselves in situations where they are very, very limited in resources, even in Britain. We know there's hunger, we know there's poverty, but generally speaking, let's talk about general person, you don't really feel hungry ever if you don't want to, right? And my brother recently, a few years ago, he told me he went into the intermittent fasting, so the 16-hour eating window we talked about earlier. And he said it was the first time ever, and remember my brother's not Muslim, it's the first time ever in his life that he felt the pangs of hunger. And I thought that was like, wow, you're 50 and that's the first time you start feeling this. How important it is to fast in Ramadan, so you know what it is to be hungry and for your body to go through the process of repair. So anyway, so the first day I wake up thinking I'm going to follow the routine of the timing, but I'm going to only have liquids. And I have my little breakfast, suhoor, not breakfast, but like, a little suhoor. It's a pre-fast meal. And subhanAllah, I could not eat the whole day. I just did not have the need to eat the whole day. And remember, it was not even Ramadan yet. I was 3 days early. Allah just made it easy for me. It just happened totally without my decision, my will. I just did not eat, and I reached 4 p.m. I was like, oh, I could do it. I did not eat or drink all day.
It's shocking.
And that really kind of encouraged me. I said, okay, I've done 1 day, I'll do a second day. Second day, same thing. I did not need to eat or drink. And I thought, okay, then I'll do a third day. And before I knew it, I'd done 15 days, just like that. And then eventually, my full 30 days. SubhanAllah. It was such an amazing discovery about myself, because I always considered myself to be someone who goes with their whims, and I don't like restrictions, I don't like rules, and and actually, no. I was totally wrong about myself. I did not know myself. And that's why I always tell people, so when I became a Muslim, I did not change. Islam revealed my true nature. It's very, very different. And sometimes you have this big coating over you, like can be a shield that you have built up over the years. And we'll talk about that in another show, about the psychology, psychological benefits of Islam, inshallah. But this is the thing, it's like, wow, it opened a new me.
What a difference when you become a Muslim when you're a bit older than when you're a kid. Well, basically.
I think you're just a bit more involved mentally in what you do. When you're younger...
Well, you were working and you were out there in the world, whereas I had just turned 18. And
your circumstances were different. You were
different.
In a Muslim environment, or so-called Muslim environment, culturally Muslim environment, where things happened and you just... had
Went
to
with
slot
it.
in. Whereas for me, it was all kind of, I had to seek it. I had to find out exactly what is required of me. Then obviously when then I took my Shahada, I was involved in a welcome and nurtured by other Muslim, and I entered the Muslim community. So obviously after that, it was very different. But that first, and I remember a friend, because I was in contact with a French Muslim who told me, wow, what you're doing is the hardest thing, considered, the hardest part of our faith, because it is really restrictive. Your faith must be really strong, and I've never seen it that way.
Yeah.
You kind of, it just happens to you. So that is my story of fasting.
In my life, fasting and praying on time and all of that seems the opposite of everything else. I'm like, I have a hard time starting and finishing a project, and we always talk about these struggles, but when it comes to Islam, I've been able to just say no to things as soon as if it's haram, just forget it. I've always wished, I wish it was labeled like sugar is labeled haram, so that definitely I wouldn't have it. Like, definitely, just label as somebody out there. Can you please label?
This is the thing. We know that, don't we, Angela?
And it's from Allah.
The difference
so
between
amazing.
Some things, like we have given Allah authority over our lives.
Yeah.
So what He tells us not to do, we don't even question it. Okay, fine.
Yeah,
don't
just
even
like
entertain it.
It's cut like a thread. I don't have any feelings.
It makes it a lot easier. Makes life a lot easier when you tell yourself, I cannot do it. Therefore, I'm not allowed. That's it. Fine. You don't even spend any energy thinking about it.
No, you don't even wish it. Like, I know the first year I was fasting, and I was also pregnant, and I was fasting. I was told I had to fast. I didn't know you had that exception. And that was the first year that I did mess up, because I wanted to have McDonald's, and of course it wasn't halal, but that was my very first year, first month, first week, right? Just before Ramadan, I became Muslim, right?
Yeah.
It was so hard, but the following year, I was all in, and
Whereas for me, it was the opposite. The first year, I think Allah just gave me you made me see everything hunky-dory and easy, and you just to ease myself into it, because Allah knows us, He knows our weaknesses, and after that, this is when, maybe not the same, because it was in winter, so it was still fairly, but when it became a bit longer, I was eased into the longer days, but I used to say, oh my God, in so many years it'll be in July, August, it'll be so hard.
I didn't even think of it, actually.
But actually,
in normal fashion,
when we were in July, I remember thinking, oh wow, I'm doing it. What I used to dread, I'm actually doing it. And you know what? I was even training in Taekwondo in the middle of July,
because we're told from external sources, you can't fast and exercise, you can't fast
and how about your dehydration
and be normal. You're practically gonna be a mess lying on your bed the whole day, no energy, and it's the opposite. I've had the most energy when I'm fasting, the most clarity. And then the worst part of Iftar, the Ramadan, is when I eat.
Yeah, because you have to go down. For me, to be fair, I'll have to say, because I'm sure lots of listeners
it's been
are listening and thinking, oh my God, it's not like this for me. It's really hard. No,
everybody has different experiences.
It is hard for me. It is hard.
But I have had more energy when I was fasting. And then when I break my fast right after Iftar, I feel like I want to sleep. How do people do Tarawih?
No, for me, to be honest, I have to say fasting is a challenge. It is my own personal jihad. As we know, jihad means the inner struggle to improve yourself, make yourself better, and it is really something I do not do easily.
But you still do it.
But obviously, I have no choice.
So there you go.
I have no choice. So
exactly.
I do it.
So of course it's a challenge.
Yeah. So this is basically our personal stories, and some of you may have a story you want to share. So do so.
I wish people would start calling on the shows.
It would be nice to interact a bit with you. But we know from other places and feedback we get sort of personally that you'll enjoy the show. But it'd be nice if you want to share your own story of fasting, then you can call us directly in the studio, like Lauren Booth did earlier, which is 0161 883 2255, and you can also text us. We've got WhatsApp on here, and it's 07751 939 396. 07751 939 396. So, Angela, what could we do then to prepare for the various fasts? So let's go back to just talking about not just Ramadan. You talked about a bit earlier on how to help yourself, and I shared my experience of being hungry. So what are the things that people can do when they are preparing? So let's have a look at one example, which is intermittent fasting. We said the minimum that would be good to fast, even if you do 12, 14 hours, just ease yourself into it. Okay, 16 hours, include your sleep in it, delay your breakfast, and stop eating a bit earlier. But say you're preparing for, like, some people do 24-hour, 36 hours, 48-hour fasts. Longer fasts. Some do 7 days. Please do not do this on your own. Have someone supervise, a healthcare professional supervising you, a nutritionist.
Yeah, definitely. It takes time to ease into it, to prepare your body, not to do it all of a sudden.
But say like a reasonable one that anyone could potentially do. Let's say a 24-hour fast, like a whole day from the night before to from dinner to dinner. It's called 1 meal a day, OMAD, or 24 hours, say. So what would you recommend that people do to prepare? Should they load with carbs and food and water? Well, water, because you'll be drinking during the day, and you can drink coffee without any.
If you're doing intermittent fasting, you could be drinking. Well, no, you shouldn't. It's what you eat. Don't load up on carbs. But when saying that at the same time, you should eat your vegetables. That's a type of carb. So we're talking about refined carbs. You should
grains,
not.
Refined grains.
They're gonna increase your appetite. You're gonna eat, and you're not gonna feel when you're full until your stomach is extended, because those carbs don't allow your body to give you the signal to stop eating, as opposed to eating fiber-rich foods, right? All the green vegetables, so you steam them. Obviously, you can make a salad depending on the weather. So it's summer now, you can have more salads, cold salads.
And in the salad, you can have eggs. We have a French salad like this, mixed salad. You've got eggs, tuna, pieces of cheddar cheese, olives.
So you make a nice salad on your plate, or a salad. Everything you're gonna eat, you make sure you have your fiber-rich food. So at least half of what you're gonna eat, say, on your plate is vegetables. All the green vegetables, grated carrots in their raw form, and then make sure you put your protein on it. Now, if you're vegetarian, it's gonna be more tricky, but you can still do it. You put your beans or your soya meat that's flavored, and make sure you have healthy fats on it. I guess if you're a vegetarian, you'll put olive oil. Non-vegetarians can still use olive oil. My husband puts olive oil on almost everything. And you also put for more flavor, apple cider vinegar, and it helps with digestion too. So it's like a little salad dressing. We're gonna put garlic. You might put something else, right? But make sure you have your protein and your vegetables and your fat. Everything else is extra, but first eat your vegetables, your protein, so it will satiate you. You're gonna feel full faster. You're not gonna be able to eat crazy amounts of food. Just because you were fasting doesn't mean you have to overeat.
And what I find with this intermittent fasting, because you're drinking, when I fast in Ramadan, to be fair, most of the difficulty for me is the fact that I don't drink, and that really depletes my energy and my focus in my brain. So I have to just be very careful to make sure I do
how do you
sip my
expand
water
your
throughout the
energy?
night.
Yeah.
And also how, you know, to drink better in the night, more spread out. But so I find that intermittent fasting for this reason is slightly easier. You can also have your coffee, so if you feel a little bit of a slump, you have a little bit of a black coffee, and that kind of picks your tea, and that picks you up. You can have your herbal teas, mint, peppermint's great for energy as well, if you don't want to have any caffeine, you know. So yeah, that kind of helps you. You'll realize soon enough that actually it's not having the food that's you know the main thing. It's as long as you drink, then you'll be all right for 24 hours easily. To
Very
be honest, easily. You'll be surprised. A bit like me when I started fasting for Ramadan. I was surprised how easy it was to be 10 hours without food and drink and water.
When that reminds me, when you break your fast, one thing you shouldn't do is break it with fried foods.
So
now,
can we,
if you're gonna eat fried foods, don't break your fast with it.
So
ease
for that,
into it.
Yeah, for that advice, we'll have a little break, and then we'll be moving on to how to what's the food you should have for iftar, for suhoor.
Ideas, anyways, we'll give you some ideas to make your fasting the next day more easier.
Yeah. So let's have a little break now. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
So this is the last half hour of our show, last part of the show. You were starting to talk about what to eat really to feel the best of your fast. So we had a little bit of a look at what you should do when you do intermittent fasting, a longer fast, but when drinking. So now let's talk about specifically Ramadan. So at this point, I think we will be having iftar at about 8:30-ish, I think, at the beginning of Ramadan, and we'll be eating until what, maybe 5:30? I mean, this is really at the top of my head. Don't take it from me.
Yeah, because I have to look at the calendar.
I've got a timetable here. So it'll start, I think, at 5:13. So that's when we stop fasting, roughly, or say 5 o'clock. And we break the fast at 10 to 8. Wow, that is very different.
That sounds less than 16 hours.
This is actually the last Ramadan that we will have in the summertime for a long time. Next year, it'll be
it's been 30 years cycle for me.
Wow,
almost.
mashallah. There you go.
Yeah, more than 30, like what is it, 31, 32?
Yeah, it's a 33-year cycle. From start to finish. Yeah.
That was a long time to get ready to be able to handle long fasts.
So basically, we can eat between 8 p.m. and 5 a.m. So that is what?
And in that
9
time,
hours.
you should also be sleeping.
9 hours. So you can sleep good few hours.
Ramadan, you do suffer. I mean, that's one part that's hard. Yeah. Apart from the sleep lack of water, it's a sleep deprivation that causes you to feel terrible.
But I think this year it will start to be a bit easier, because if you eat at about 8. Then you break your fast. You will tell us how. Then we pray. Then you have your meal. Then Isha and Taraweh. You still have a good few hours you can have in the middle of the night to sleep and feel refreshed and wake up for suhoor. Not too close to the end of eating, like when you start fasting, to be able to spread your drinking and spread your food so you don't go back to bed at 6 or 5:30, something like that, 5:45, feeling really bloated and with a distended stomach. So Angela, take it away. What sort of food should we have for suhoor? Let's start with suhoor, because this is what will start on Saturday or Sunday morning, I think. The first day of fasting, inshallah, it'll be suhoor. What should we do?
Well, it's not gonna be last night's fried food, okay? But we can have a nice platter of hummus. You can have with your olives, tomatoes, like a nice spread, like as if you went on a holiday to Spain or Turkey, right? You can have that for breakfast. You can have yogurt with a frozen fruit. You make it yourself. Do not buy frozen yogurt, because that's full of sugars. You could have an oatmeal that you prepare from the evening before with fruits and nuts on it. So notice fiber, and when I say fruit, not the extremely sweet kinds of fruit, right? Just like berries, right?
Strawberries, blueberries, raspberries.
Yeah. Anyways, whatever you have, obviously you're not going to eat a lot in the morning. I know a lot of people who can't have breakfast, especially if you were eating.
It is a sunnah though,
yeah,
isn't it?
So
it's good to have a little bit of something.
Yeah, you can cut a date in it. You can make the Prophet's food talbina. So with you can prepare it to eat that. You can have whole bread. I'm not talking about toast. Like if you can have sourdough, good bread, or the Asians make chapatis and the whole wheat chapatis and put nice stuff on it. Butter, peanut butter. All those kind of things you can have.
Eggs, you can have
I forgot my
fried egg.
Number one food if you want to have a good day and fill it is eggs. Whatever. You make your omelette with your vegetables. You could put some protein in it.
If you're vegan, you can have a lot of tofu as well. That's good.
Tofu is apparently. I haven't had tofu, but apparently
it's very nice.
You could cut it and treat it like halloumi and fry it.
You've got different types. You've got what they call the silky smooth one, and then it shreds a bit. It becomes like a bit like scrambled egg, and you have the firm one where you can cut and use as a halloumi. Halloumi is delicious as well.
Yeah,
it's got a bit of salt
also
as
you
well.
Can have if you want to have a vegan in the morning, vegan based thing, you can have like the Arabs do a type of fava beans.
The fool,
with whole wheat pita, olive oil and tomatoes and onions.
Fantastic.
That stuff you can have in the morning. That will keep you.
And then drinking water, and remember in sips. Not big glasses shut down.
You should have your water with you throughout the night and sip on it and drink slowly. Don't gulp it down because then you're only going to end up going to the bathroom more and more. If you drink it slowly, it absorbs also in a better fashion.
So what I do, for instance, because I love drinking a cup of teas, but cups of tea, but the problem is with tea and caffeine, it's a little bit diuretic. It's not as bad actually as previously thought, but still it does make you go to the toilet quite a lot. So what you can do is, what I do is I use red bush tea instead. Red bush tea, I like it because it nearly tastes like standard tea, and you can have it with milk, although it's naturally without caffeine, and it's good for you. It's got a lot of really good antioxidants inside, and it doesn't have the caffeine, and it doesn't have this diuretic effect where you need to go to the loo often. And I have, however, at suhoor, a little espresso coffee, because a lot of people complain that the first few days they are really down with terrible headaches, and if you look back to what you normally have, it's actually most of the time related, yes, to you not drinking enough water, but also you've not realized actually you drink maybe several cups of tea, or at least even 1 or 2 cups of tea or coffee, and all of a sudden you don't. Some people, what they do is they wean themselves like a week before Ramadan, and they slowly replace their coffee with decaf coffee or the tea with decaf tea. You can also do that. So by the time you reach Ramadan, your body's used to not having caffeine. For me, I love my little cup of coffee.
You can't take Turkish coffee away from me, and I don't want a decaf. So thank you. Exactly. I just have one at breakfast.
Yeah, a tiny one. Yeah, exactly.
And one for Iftar. And Bob's your uncle, like you guys say here.
Yeah.
Wow, it
No,
sorts
for me,
out.
I cannot have caffeine in the evening. It stops me from sleeping. So I have that little shot of coffee in the morning.
It doesn't do anything to me, obviously.
I've got my espresso machine. that's the Italian in me. We're half Italian, half French. You have to have things from both. But and in the evening, then I would have red bush tea or decaf tea, herbal teas. Herbal teas are fantastic, especially peppermint, because it helps with digestion, and that's really good to get, especially when it gets a bit cold, to get that quantity of liquid that you need in the night. So that's for suhoor. What sort of things do I have? Yeah, I do tend to have a lot of eggs. Generally speaking,
eggs are the best and the easiest thing to make for breakfast, apart from oatmeal.
Yeah, eggs. You beat them in a bowl. You add salt, a bit of salt, a bit of pepper, herbs. you can add any herbs you like. Yeah, you know, dried herbs or fresh herbs, like basil, like oregano. It can be even coriander.
But I've seen like an Asian style omelette at Chaiwala where they chop onions.
Yeah.
Right? They chop onions and chilies.
Yeah.
And they put them in their omelette, and it tastes really
turmeric.
Good.
You can add your turmeric,
all the
so you've got all the good spices that are good for your health, because turmeric is absolutely amazing.
Turmeric.
And then you fry that in your butter or in your coconut oil
ghee.
or your ghee. And then, first of all, you can fry any vegetable. I mean, you can have the chopped onions. I put some peppers. If I have like some bits of broccoli sometimes.
I put red onions. I really like red onions.
Very good.
Mushrooms.
Very healthy.
Not everybody likes it, but either stuff you would put on a pizza or things that you would put in a chili. Those vegetables, you can put them in your omelette.
So to make it nice, the trick is you cook it on low heat. So it cooks slowly underneath. Then everything cooks to the top. Then you grate some cheese on top. Or if you want, again, vegan, then you would have your tofu or things, if you want to. Put that on top. And then you let it, and then eventually, herbs, everything, like to give it lots of flavor. And then you fold it over and finish the cooking like this. So it doesn't burn, but it's cooked through. And then you have a kind of a pancake or whatever you want to call it. It's like a bread with things inside. It's amazing. And I tell you, it does fill you up. It really does.
Eggs do that for you.
And you don't need bread. You don't need anything with it.
No, you don't. But if you do want to have bread,
sometimes I like to have like dips, or like in my hummus I use oat cakes. Oat cakes are really, really good, especially the ones with the extra seeded ones. Fantastic way of having a little bit of
higher fiber. And you feel like something crunchy.
Exactly. And you can have you can even find in some health shop, you find buckwheat crackers or crackers made from other things, and you can just use them as little crackers. In France we have what's called French toast, and it's like, it used to be all dried bread pressed together and just dried up, and it makes it very crunchy. It makes like our version of crackers, and so I really love using that as a replacement for bread.
You know what? The other thing you could do, instead of putting in, make the omelette the way you want, and then put it in the waffle machine if you have one, and you make the omelette in there, and then it looks like waffles. If you want to make it more sweet, right? I mean, I am all about removing the sugar. So if you want to sweeten it up with some maple syrup, or you buy any sugar replacement and you sweeten it up with cinnamon, and then you can make like waffles that are made with eggs, but they're like they feel like they're waffles, but they're better for you because there's no grains in it, and they're sweeter. And then you can have them as waffles, but they're made from eggs and cheese. But you just don't put salt, you put a sugar replacement.
Interesting. So I just remembered my sister-in-law's married with a Tunisian, so she does a lot of Tunisian recipes, and they have something called tagine, which has got nothing to do with the Moroccan tagine, which is the meat and vegetables cooked in a pot. It's basically egg tagines, and you have to use like a huge amount. Like you get your oven dish, and you put anything you want, potatoes, you can put spinach, cheese, vegetables, anything you want. Beat that with about 15 eggs in your big oven dish.
That sounds like a frittata. Sounds like a type of a frittata.
Yeah, and it's like it becomes a thick egg cake. And then when it's cooked, you can cut it in squares, and it's really tasty, really, and it's very easy. You then store them in the fridge. You can have them cold. You can have it for suhoor. You can have them for iftar. Such a healthy way.
Yeah, and the same thing, you could put it in muffin tins.
That's right.
And make them like they look like little muffins.
That's right.
Or cupcakes, what you guys call them here. Sorry, cupcakes.
Yeah, muffins. Yeah.
And they're really good size for young kids if they want to start fasting with the family. And they look cute. You can put almost anything you want in there. You can make a vegetarian.
Eggs are so versatile.
But eggs are versatile. Yeah, and they have 6 grams of protein per egg. not bad at all. It will help you feel fuller
Definitely.
through the day.
Definitely.
So that's the easy thing to do.
Yeah, and I like to have some Greek yogurt. Sometimes sprinkle a bit of oats.
Well, cinnamon, guys, make sure you use cinnamon because it helps with your blood sugar, right? And it gives you that sweetness. Okay, and it gives good flavor. So don't forget your cinnamon. It pairs really well with a lot of other things that you're using.
Very, very good advice. So that was suhoor. Try to not have too many fruits, just to finish off, isn't it? Not too many sweet fruits, because that will spike your sugar.
Yeah, if you're gonna just have berries, all kinds of berries. Strawberries are good, and you don't have to buy the fresh. Buy the frozen ones because they're frozen when they are at their peak, and they keep all their vitamins. So it's a good thing to have. Like, you could just quickly defrost them, put them in a smoothie. Yeah, you can have a protein smoothie. I mean, if you don't have
the good thing about liquid food like their smoothies and liquidized soups is that they take longer to digest, so you feel fuller for longer, compared to if you had, say, the vegetables and the broth and the chunky vegetables. That is digested a lot quicker. So that's an interesting tip as well, especially for suhoor. If you want to feel fuller for longer, then have something like a smoothie. It will take longer to,
with protein in it.
Yeah.
Okay. Not a smoothie made from juice.
No. We mean like a yogurt.
You can also add avocados.
Fruits.
Avocado makes it thick. Instead of putting a banana, there's no sugar or less. A banana has a lot of sugars. You can eat it. Maybe if you still want to have it at Iftar in a bit of fruit salad, because you want to eat things that will help you slow down digestion and give you more energy.
Yeah, you want to avoid that
Slow
11
release.
a.m. Slump where you really feel like, as I said, hungry and lack of energy and tired and grumpy because your sugar levels have gone down. You want to sustain those sugar levels in your body. So yeah, that's very good advice. Never thought about the avocado, because we always associate avocado with savory food, don't we? But actually,
apparently in East Africa, they use avocado. They as a sauce to put over the other fruit.
Yeah, that's really good. So now let's move on to Iftar. So we've been fasting now from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. So how long is that? 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. That's 14 hours?
Yeah, less than a 16-hour fast.
So less than 16-hour fast. So that's even less.
If we've been training all year with intermittent fasting, inshallah, this should be easier.
Yeah, so now it's time to break the fast. The adhan's been called, the first Allahu Akbar. This is when you're allowed to, alhamdulillah, you make your dua. You have your glass of what in your hand? Angela, what do you have in your hand?
You have water or milk. Or you can make a little smoothie, like. But what you should we also talk about what not to have?
Yeah.
Not have a glass of orange juice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's only the sugar, isn't it? And no fiber, nothing to digest.
Yeah, it's not a good idea.
Okay. So water, milk.
You're gonna have a date.
Yeah, a date 3 or 5, isn't it? It's
odd number 1, 3, or 5. 3 is not bad. Let's not overdo everything. 5 is a little bit excessive. Isn't it? I would think
unless they're like really, really small.
Yeah. Unless you have like a certain. What we're trying to do here is to keep our blood sugars when we're fasting in an even level. So if you do want to have more, then at least have it with milk. Like do what the Prophet did, was soaking dates with milk, and that should be better for you than just straight dates.
So you've got your water or your milk and say 3 dates. Do you eat straight away, or like you meal, or should you
everybody does
fast
some
first?
people eat
First. You should pray first.
They eat, I mean, they break their fast, they go and they pray and then come back. So a really an ideal version now. We're not talking about what everybody will do, but an ideal version is to have your plate, instead of having samosas. We're always talking about samosas. By the way, guys, it's one of my favorite foods, so I'm not picking on samosas. It's when I'm hungry or I feel peckish, that's my go-to food. My very first food I had ever that was different from what I grew up with was a samosa, and Punjabi samosa. Oh, with the best pastry. Not trying to make you hungry, but it's not the best food to break your fast with. So the best thing to do then is to prepare, like, so if you're not a vegetarian, if you're a vegetarian, you'll have to make other croquettes, like maybe a plate with types of meatballs, right? Cheese, carrots, vegetables that you can dip, like you can bring out your hummus. Again, I'm always talking about hummus or
fantastic food.
Anything to do with beans.
So it could be lentils if you're more traditionally towards lentils,
if
and
that's
other types of beans, or your food,
like a little bit of
but like beans,
like a little snack. But if you're gonna eat dinner, Let's not normalize. Let's
remember,
normalize to eat normal food in Ramadan instead of making every day like a feast. So whatever you normally eat, just a regular dinner. And a good plate to even out your sugars would be mostly vegetables. Make it your base, and make a sauce to go over it, like your curry. You can have salad, a cold salad. You can have steamed vegetables, whatever is your favorite. Like, I like just plain stuff like cauliflower and broccoli that's steamed, and then you can make a sauce. Instead of using pasta, I would put my mince sauce, bolognese, I guess you call it here, over my food. You want to do something else, like Alfredo sauce is good over that.
Sorry, what?
Alfredo sauce.
What's that?
The one that you make with I thought you would know what an Alfredo sauce is. It's made with cream and Parmesan and butter.
Oh, right.
You put it over pasta.
For some reason, I had something like in a bottle or something.
No, well, they do sell it.
I thought it was a brand.
They do sell it, but I'd never buy it because it's full of
No, I make my own sauce.
Make my own
so sometimes
sauce,
I don't have the name, but I just make it.
So in Asian cuisine, there's a lot of beautiful curries.
Very. Ghee with ghee.
You make the meat curry, the chicken curry, the butter chicken. Look, I'm salivating. You can make your palak and aloo gobi and all these things, curries to put over your vegetables.
So I think the interesting thing that you said was that don't try and catch up with the food you've not had in the day. I think this is something we have to really get out of, and especially in those times now. Ultimately, we're missing lunch and the snacks in between, but we're having breakfast a bit early and we have a dinner a bit late. And
maybe one snack.
It's just lunch that you're missing. So have this at about 8-ish, 9-ish. Then it's time for Isha. You go and pray your Taraweh. You come back, have a little snack, not another meal.
Yeah. But basically, make sure every snack or meal you include protein in it and fiber, vegetables.
So a good snack that we recommend, for instance, after exercise, if you want to have good protein, would be a Greek yogurt, and that's a good thing to have.
So easy to make. Greek yogurt. Like, don't go buy the one with all these additives in it. Buy the plain Greek yogurt,
and add your own things like agave syrup or a bit of honey. Even if you have a bit of honey, you don't overdo it.
You could put granola because it's already made for you. Nuts, fruits, the kind that you like. Right? So that's it. Really, we have to take care of ourselves.
Even Ramadan. I like to do the coconut burfi. They're like little sweets, and it's just shredded coconut with you can buy it with the sweetened condensed milk, and do that as mix it with, and obviously cardamom, etc. But sometimes I do it differently. I use the coconut flakes and I add cream. So I don't use the condensed milk because it's got the sugar, and I would sweeten it with either agave syrup or maybe a bit of honey, which is still healthy because it's a natural, more natural. and it's really, really nice. So there's lots of ways, like even those delicious carrot desserts that you have in
the halwa.
Yes,
Gajar halwa.
Delicious. Instead of loading it with the refined sugar, put some honey, put some agave syrup, another type of sugar, like erythritol that you mentioned already in this show, which are not going to spike your sugar levels, but going to give you that little sweet flavor. Use maybe a dates.
Well, in Canada, they make this dessert from dates. It's called a date cake. So you could actually make a date square. Actually, it's called date squares. You make the dates into a date square. Look up the recipe, you guys, and you just have it it's made with oats and stuff, and you give it to kids. And you could also have it as a side dessert. Don't make your everyday meal for the whole of Ramadan rich like you're going to a party. I know we have cravings, but we need to deal with them.
Also, we know that Ramadan, and for everyone, it's a special moment, isn't it? You invite people over, you go to the mosque for iftar, you want to kind of make it's like there's a celebration every night.
Every night.
But you can reduce a bit the quantities, don't go overboard, don't cook too much that's not going to be eaten.
And waste it.
Exactly. So you can try and tweak things to make it like you're feeling like you're contributing positively to your body, to the environment, to the community, and at the same time you still have this celebratory feeling. We have not spoken about the elephant in the room, which is rice. And what I find, and I've already mentioned that in the past, what I find is that I love my basmati rice, but what I do is that I first load my plate with colorful food, the sauces, the whatever I'm eating. So my brain sees, that's how it works, your brain sees all of this, the filled up plate, lots of colors, and then on top or on the side you add a little bit of your rice, so like a couple of tablespoons of rice. So it's not all about rice with a bit of sauce, it's the opposite. It's your meal with a little bit of rice. You will feel the difference. It does make a big difference.
You cannot stop eating rice. Rice is in the category of foods that does not allow your body to signal fullness. You do not feel you're full until you are very, very full.
And it's too late.
And it increases your appetite. You just don't need it. Eat in moderation. You must count it. You must measure it. We have a lot of issues in our community with diabetes, so we have to measure these things.
Yeah.
It can't have a wild abandon every night for 30 nights.
So we have given you lots of tips. This is only the tip of the iceberg.
There's so many tips.
But you can go online and do your research. So for instance, you have your recipe, but instead of looking for the standard recipe, you add gluten-free as a keyword, or keto as a keyword, or low carb,
high protein.
There's so many people out there from all origins who have taken their traditional recipes and made them healthier.
There's a really nice Indian website. Well, it's in English. It's called Headbangers Kitchen, and he has
Headbanger Kitchen.
Headbanger Kitchen.
He
has a lot of followers. He takes Indian food to a different level. He makes it low carb. He's even done that to pakoras. You guys, go and see what he's doing. He's so that's his website is about Indian food. There's another lady who's called Heavenly Fan, and she's taken to Chinese food, East Asian food to low carb, and make it better. And vegan. She's vegan. Wow. There's a lot of websites like Sweet as Honey. And she makes desserts. Her website is all about desserts, but they do not do anything to your blood sugar.
Well, in an Islamic bookshop a few years ago, I found a traditional recipe for Turkish desserts without sugar. All of the recipes were with honey, molasses, and it's amazing. So it is really, if you look, if you dig a little bit, you will find it.
Do your research and have a healthy, safe and healthy Ramadan.
Inshallah, and on these wise words and dua, I mean, we will leave you, love you and leave you, and make you, hope you had a good...
and we've given you some good ideas. Don't get too upset when we're talking about messing around with our rice and our samosas, you guys, because we love them too.
We'll give you soon a recipe on how to make samosas without the dough. That is my latest discovery. Angela's been telling me off air. We'll keep that for another time, inshallah, but that sounds really, really
We'll have to make put it on the website or something.
Yes, inshallah. So remember, you can always listen to our show later on YouTube. Look for Wellness with Angela and Safiya. And inshallah, we are looking forward to having you again listening to us next week, where we'll continue talking about more generally how to have a healthy Ramadan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi
Wa alaikum salam,
wa barakatuh.
everyone.